people aren't necessarily wanting to see that something polished. They're wanting more authenticity from it. It's a really hard task keeping up with AI. It literally changes every week, if not every day.
Welcome to The Shift, the Rhapsody podcast that takes a deep dive into all things AI across multiple sectors. I'm Chad Gomez, the Chief Revenue Officer for Rhapsody. In these conversations, I sit down with industry leaders to explore how AI is really showing up in their world. Today, we're tackling something a lot of people in the industry are feeling, but not always saying. AI fatigue versus reality. Are we drowning in hype? Or is the real transformation still ahead of us? To explore this topic, I'm joined by Mike Godfrey, Marketing and Creative Director at Xiaomi UK. He doesn't just commission creative work, he makes it. And that perspective on how AI is reshaping the creative process is exactly why I'm so excited to be speaking with him on this topic today. So without further ado, Mike, welcome. Really glad to have you here.
That was quite the intro. I really appreciate that. If you could write my LinkedIn, write my CV, I'd really appreciate that. That was awesome.
Look, Mike, let's start off. Where are you right now, and what does your day-to-day actually look like?
It's a very good question. So, creative director for Xiaomi, based out of the UK. I'm also doing a lot of design work, whether that is design strategy itself, like, directing the creative, or whether it's actually sometimes a bit more hands-on. So a lot of the graphic design, perhaps video work and photography, my first love, to be honest with you. Where Xiaomi sits in technology, we make a lot of good technology. Where we're really pushing is our cameras, is our photography. And I feel that really sits nicely with me. So when there's opportunity for me to get hands on that kind of work, I'm obviously going to jump onto it.
So, Mike, that sounds like it's quite a workload, right? And you're obviously being pulled in multiple different directions. But talk to me about AI and, this AI fatigue element. A lot of companies are saying we're AI first. It's everywhere. What does that actually mean in practice to you?
So, yeah, I would argue that I've been using like AI and AI tools in a sense for almost like the last 10 years, long before the advent of this buzzword that we know in the last 2 years of AI. I think where people are taking AI at the moment is almost like it's a one button solution. You would go to like an AI model, you would type in a prompt, you'd get an image spat out, you'd get coding for a website design spat out. Well, I don't think that currently, and it's in that state, in that right mindset, I don't think it's good enough yet. At the moment, AI to me is very just much like tools in my workflow. Let's bring it back to a Xiaomi use case, for example. Xiaomi, we are a global company and we have obviously international branches along the way. So global might make an awesome piece of artwork, and then it comes down to a local team like myself, and I need to localize it for my intended market. There's now tools in AI that can help me do that. It's not taking away creativity from anyone. It's not taking away, the spark, the enjoyment. It's just done a bit of the boring, like manual labor that I would happily, just put onto the AI. It's not coming up with the fresh ideas for me yet, but it is great in the place of having just making the creativity come quicker and easier because you've got more time to focus on it rather than focusing on perhaps some of the other lifting that AI can do. Now, when we're talking about Xiaomi as well, obviously Xiaomi, we do a lot of really interesting phones and just devices all around, but phones is somewhere interesting. We're actually implementing the AI. Now, if you were to use a telephoto lens on your phone, if you were to zoom in, let's say, you can get really quite a nice bit of zoom, but it's degrading the image slightly. Some of it's optical, and then it goes to digital zoom. When you hit that digital zoom, the image is degraded slightly because you're going to more of a pixel level. We've got this lovely little bit of AI that when you're taking those telephotos, after it's taken the photo, it just sharpens up the areas that need to be sharpened. It removes a little bit of the noise. It sharpens a little bit of the image. So you're actually getting a much better result without it being aggressive or heavy-handed. It's actually giving you the result that you expected to see in a lovely little push from that AI.
From an actual go-to-market sort of campaign, have you used AI sort of in a creative space, or any sort of, have you used AI to create any sort of imagery for you? And has it worked, if you have done? Or if it hasn't worked, why not?
So this is because I'm a designer first, and that's where the start of my career came from. I think, like, ethically and morally, I need to be a little bit careful where I tread the AI line as well.
Yeah.
If I could, create an image on AI that I feel like I could have given to a photographer, I'm not particularly happy with that. So these, like, AI image generation, this full just prompt from nothing into something, I'm not really stood behind. Honestly, authenticity is it's my word of the year when it comes to marketing, for sure. So yeah, I would much rather be able to use, like, real humans, just because of how workflow works. I think there's a lot of stuff coming out now that is, hyper polished, hyper
Yeah.
corporate, and it does look good. But marketing has very much gone social these days.
Mm.
And people aren't necessarily wanting to see that something polished. They're wanting more authenticity from it. Because of the advent of this AI, they want to know that, has a real human made this? Has a real human experienced it?
But just going back to that sort of family around the table, we did a Christmas campaign for Xiaomi Eastern Europe
Yeah.
recently, and there was a family round the table. They are real people. They are real actors. It was all, scripted and storyboarded, and it was a 14-hour shoot, and it was, and the response to that ad was phenomenal. The feedback from the stakeholders at Xiaomi was unbelievable. So look, we were super proud of that. But just going back to what we were just talking about is around, what Xiaomi has done very well, and I've seen it, and it's happening in the UK as you're building your brand more and more, is that sense of strong community. So, and you may have answered this already, but I'd like to just do a bit more of a deep dive into it. Is how do you protect that connection that you have with your end user when there's so much AI content being produced these days?
At Xiaomi, we pride ourselves on being, like, pretty much community first, community driven. That's very much was one of our original pillars, to make friends with our users. In fact, we've got an emoji in our internal messaging system that is make friends with users. That's just the entire emoji, and that's always sat really nicely with me. And now with this AI advent, and just like all of that kind of this wash of AI marketing coming over, I actually think it's working slightly in our favor when we lean back towards the authenticity, back to real creators. I think it's working in our favor currently. Our work is being pushed to the top because we can see that there's actually been a bit of passion in there, and we're making stuff that is trying to resonate. It's trying to be humanistic. It's trying to resonate properly with the audience. Now, it's easier for some of our product line, like the phones, because of the art side, because of the photography, and it's so natural. So it's an easy win on the AI win, because it's like, well, I want to see what you're giving me. Like, I want to see what you would do with this as an art tool. Whereas, perhaps some of our other products are a bit harder. Let's say we look at some of our AIoT. So we have a big smart home range. I'm looking at my kitchen behind the computer right now. So maybe like an air fryer, maybe like a blender. Now, content from them is slightly harder to make a bit more authentic. You want to see it in a nice kitchen. You don't want to see it in my messy kitchen, for example. You want to see it in like a high-end polished kitchen, which is a bit harder because I can't get users to generate the content as I can giving them a phone.
Right.
All I can get them to do is perhaps talk about their experiences. And this is where perhaps AI actually feeds in a bit more. Those category of products, you're going to see AI on a lot quicker than something like a phone. As for Xiaomi and community, the fact that our major flagship line products is designed to be creative with, I actually think we're in a really nice position to just differentiate ourselves. I think that Android is the future. It's a lot more open. You're a lot more free to do whatever you want with it, as opposed to the iPhone system being really, like, locked down. I think because of that, we're actually in the advent of seeing Android doing a lot better than the iOS, in my opinion. I think Apple has been seen to be quite far behind in the AI space and getting things implemented, whereas we've been a lot more dynamic in actually getting AI into some of our software. And with some of the stuff I've seen coming in the future, I think we're going to be quite ahead of the curve.
So looking across the market, what does stand out to you at the moment where brands maybe within your sector or even out of your sector are actually stepping up and getting it right from an AI perspective?
So I think the Google Gemini is obviously the one to watch. They're the big boys. It's been implemented into a bunch of our devices as well. So I think Google is the real leader to be looking at AI now. But saying that, that is actually an interesting question in and of itself. Why perhaps Apple are a bit slower than we are is they're a very big company. They're just not as dynamic. And when it comes to big companies, I do think it's a lot harder to like change processes, to put new software in, to put new ideas in straight away. But just because you've got a much bigger entity to work with. So where I see perhaps the big companies, who's going to do well, what's the future? I think it's going to be the little guys. I think there's going to be random startups that are just going to have thought of an amazing idea, and they're going to be able to get running with that idea so much quicker than ever's been before in the past.
Yeah.
And that will then translate into companies like Xiaomi. So I imagine a small little guy, we're going to come up with idea. They're dynamic, they're quick. The idea can run in a week. And then other companies like us are going to take notice and perhaps implement some of their ideas, some of their apps, some of their software into what we're running.
But where do you think brands, and maybe the bigger brands, where do you think they're overcomplicating things in the AI space?
I think it's almost being overcomplicated by the tag AI anyway. Chucking AI tag onto everything, that doesn't necessarily need or warrant it. Like I was saying, Photoshop's been improving. Photoshop has been doing a form of AI, at least improving my life design-wise for as long as it's been running. So where I think companies are perhaps getting it wrong is just tagging everything and making it that hot button, because in 2-3 years time it's going to look really outdated. It's going to be of this time period, of these mid 2020s. It's going to be really like rooting that. In 10 years time, someone mentions AI, it's going to sound a bit odd and a bit naff, which is totally what AI shouldn't have been. So I almost want companies to drop that and just tell me what it is doing. Like, be like, we know a computer's going to help us. We know that that's since the dawn of time. Let's, I don't know, actually like market it a bit better and almost drop that. I just feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's where AI is going a bit wrong at the moment.
Okay. And from a Xiaomi's perspective, what are you most excited about at Xiaomi right now? And where do you think Xiaomi are pushing things forward?
That's a really good question. I do feel like this comes into, it's not going to sound like it is, but it's something to do with AI. So right now, I am really excited with the Leica partnership. So in our Xiaomi high-end devices, we have partnered with Leica, who help us with some of the software and some of the lenses going in the phones. Now, Leica are very much traditional photography. They've got a lot of prestige. They've got a lot of history. They are obviously not been using AI in their history, and we're leveraging their history. So it's odd to mention that in an AI podcast, an AI chat, let's say. I don't think it is. I think this comes back to the authenticity. Like, yes, we want authenticity. We want AI to help us out. If I take that telephoto, I want to see it nice and crisp and sharp and get rid of the noise. But I want the authenticity. I want to know it's a real photo still. And I feel like this partnership really helps us like leverage both the worlds, so they can kind of intertwine, they can work in tandem without kind of one overpowering the other. So right now, partnership with Leica, I think that's a really good place to be. Also, we have some very exciting smart home products coming out. I probably shouldn't say too much, but here at Xiaomi, we have we've such an ecosystem of products. So it's not just the phones. We are human car home. So we also sell cars overseas that will eventually be coming to European markets. But you name it, from phones, air fryers, rice cookers, vacuum cleaners. So we're worth keeping an eye on the space, because our whole ecosystem can be controlled through one device, which I just think is incredible, right?
And what I'll do, I'll give you a quick plug. Go to me.com if you want to find out more on the product. So look, 2 questions before we close. The first one is, look, this whole thing around, where do you feel the AI fatigue is? Where is that actual AI fatigue for you at the moment?
So it's the rendered imagery for me. It's the just typed in a prompt, you've spat out an image. I think it's so painfully obvious, a lot of it. Don't get me wrong, the models are improving and getting a lot better, but there's a lot that's just so painfully obvious. And I've got no other way. It's like, you can just tell it's AI. It's got this like AI rubber filter for it. I need a better term for it, but AI slop, I guess, is the general term.
We say soulless. We find that a lot of
soulless is a good word.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that this came up again on a previous chat with somebody we were talking to was around, one of the benefits where Rhapsody, because we come from very much a print background and moved into creative, we've got some of the best retouchers and that sort of human in the loop sort of creative eye that goes on. So we bring a lot of hyper realistic sort of soul to content that's being generated in AI. So look, another just last question for you, just last question. And it's been a great chat, by the way. So thank you so much. If you had to give one piece of advice to brands out there right now that are trying to keep up with AI, what would it be?
It's a really hard task, keeping up with AI. It literally it changes every week, if not every day. There's kind of a new piece of software. So I think my advice would you need to do it on a personal level. Yes, you work for a company, and yes, you have your role. I think you actually need to spend time by yourself, seeing what tools are out there through various, just Googling AI tools that would help me in my certain role, or just following certain AI news places as well. But just keeping an eye on it and making sure it works for you and your workflow. Everybody works different. For one, I still like writing things down on a piece of paper. I don't like having a to-do list that I can't physically cross off. So me having an AI to-do list assistant, it's not gonna run for me, but it might run for you perfectly. So it's almost like, just have a sit down, see what tools are available right this second, and just try them out. Even if it's only 10 minutes, you might find some benefit for that. And just figuring out your AI workflow personally. If that then works and you can see it scaling up, then look to scaling it to your team, to your region. But I think firstly, you've got to be comfortable with knowing what it is and how to use it. I think you have to be a little bit nerdy when it comes to that. Like, I know for a fact that you're a tech person as well. And me myself, I get excited over new tech. I'm going to blame James Bond growing up. Like, he had all the cool gadgets. And I'm like, I guess that's where it came from. And AI to me very much fits like that. Like, I'm excited. I want to see how you're going to make my life a bit easier, or what you can do. So I think having a little bit of passion and drive to finding these tools as well really helps. Where you get that from, I can't help you, but like, I think that's a bit of a cheat code. If you can get excited by it, I think that's really going to help you out.
Really appreciate your time. I found our chat enlightening and really educational. So I hope that anybody watching this has found it just as entertaining and insightful as I have. So thank you very much.
Really appreciate that. It was really good to chat with you. And go check out me.com. Go check out the Xiaomi store in Westfield Stratford as well. And if you want to, you can find me on LinkedIn. If you LinkedIn Mike Godfrey or something like that. But yeah, appreciate that, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.